Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah. The question is asking about Sujood at-Tilaawah. Sujood at-Tilaawah. This is a sajda that a person has to do when they're reciting the Quran. Now, the majority of the ulama have said that the Sujood at-Tilaawah is sunnah. If a person does it, he'll be rewarded. If he doesn't do it, then he is not sinful. Whereas the Hanafis have said it is wajib. And if a person recites an ayah of Sujood at-Tilaawah and he doesn't do it, then he could be sinful and he needs to make qada of it. But the correct view is that it is sunnah bi-idhnillah, because Umar radiallahu anhu recited an ayah from Sujood at-Tilaawah and he didn't make sajda. You can find Sujood at-Tilaawah here like this in the Mus'haf. I mean, this is the Mus'haf that I've got. It's got a line, it's got a symbol, even says sajda on the side, in the margin. And the ulama have said that there are 15 places in the Quran where there is Sujood at-Tilaawah. But they have differed. Some of them said that there's none in the Mufassal, so this is the view of the Malikiyya. So anything after Qaf and Hujurat, there is no Sujood at-Tilaawah. So Al-Najm, Al-Ishtiqaq and Surah Al-Alaq, there is no Sujood at-Tilaawah. The Hanabila have taken out the sajda in Surah Sa'd. Others have said that the second sajda in Surah Al-Hajj is not a sajda. However, I mean, this is differences of opinion which exists within the madhahib. But from the adab of the Mus'haf is for us to stick, like we have said before, to stick to what Uthman radiallahu anh has established when it comes to the order, when it comes to the names. And with this, the ulama have also said that there are 15, despite that there being difference of opinion between the madhahib, it's best for us to stick to these 15. But again, it's an issue of istihbab. I mean, it is recommended for a person to make the sajda. If he's not able to make the sajda, then there is no harm in him doing so. How do we do the sajda? Okay, like I said, here you've got the symbols. Some of the ulama have said, if the sajda comes at the end of the surah, and this is from the Hanafis and the Hanbalis, then you've got, and you're in salah, you've got an option between ruku' and sajda. So you can go into ruku'. So for example, if a person said, Kalla la tuti' wasjudu waqtarib, he's now got, if he's in salah, he has now got the option of going into ruku', because ruku' is a type of sajda, or he actually goes into the full sajda. I mean, I'm just going to mention masail. This is the first masala that comes in to my head. How do we actually do it? Some of the ulama say that there are two sajdas, but the correct view, the view of the majority, is that there is only one sajda. There is only one sajda. The person falls into sajda, he says Allahu Akbar, and he would say what he normally says in sajda, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la. There are adhkar that have been narrated in Hisn Muslim. You can see them in Hisn Muslim that have been narrated. If a person was to do them and memorize them, that would be very good. But the bare minimum will be Subhana Rabbil A'la. If the person wants to supplicate to Allah, because in sajda supplication has been legislated, then this is also very good. Also from the virtues of sajda at-Tilaawah is that we've done this before. Iblis wails and he cries, and he says, Banu Adam has been commanded to make sajda, and he made sajda, and I was commanded to make sajda and I refrained. So you can see now here the honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to the mu'min, that he allows him to get closer to him with this act of worship. Whereas those who recognize that they should be worshipping Allah, or they don't, they are not able to. Whether they recognize that they should be worshipping Allah or not, they don't have the tawfiq and the ability to do so. So the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you from the people of the Quran, and people that recite the Quran and make sajda, on top of that, this is a sign of a great deal of khair and goodness. The person should make takbir going down, but as for coming up, there is no takbir. This is outside of the salat. So a person recites this, for example, Kalla la tuti' wasjudu waqtarib, and then he says Allahu Akbar, and he goes into sajda, and he says Subhana Rabbil A'la, or the other supplications that have been narrated. When he comes back up, there is no takbir. However, inside of the salah, then the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, with every single movement, he used to have a dhikr. Therefore, inside of the salah, the person would say Allahu Akbar when going down, and then Allahu Akbar when coming back up. Once the person has come back up, he has the option of either carrying on reciting or going into ruku'. So let's say, for example, he recites this Kalla la tuti' wasjudu waqtarib, then he goes into sajda, Allahu Akbar, and he comes back up, Allahu Akbar. Now he can recite the next surah, or any other surah that comes after, or he can go into ruku'. So that's also from the Masail of Sujood, at-Tilaawah. Also from the Masail connected to Sujood, at-Tilaawah, is that it is only for those people who are reciting the Quran or having the Quran recited and they are listening. And what we mean by that is that if you are listening to the Quran on a recording and it is not live, then there is no sujood at-Tilaawah for that. This is because the sujood at-Tilaawah for the person who is reciting is a niyyah, and whatever is recorded doesn't take that ruling. Also from the rulings when it comes to sujood at-Tilaawah is that if the person who is reciting the Quran and they come to an ayat of sujood at-Tilaawah and then the reciter makes sajda, then everyone should follow that person, whether this is in salah or outside of salah. But if the person is reciting and then they go on to the next one, and the reciter did not make sujood, then the people who are listening live, remember, not recording, they are not required to make the sajda. This is because the niyyah is one of those conditions, and we should be following the person who does that. And we have evidences for this. Messenger of Allah had some of his companions reciting, and sometimes if they didn't make the sajda, then he wouldn't make the sajda with them. And yes, the Messenger of Allah used to recite to them and they used to recite to him. I think these are from the Masail of Sujood at-Tilaawah. It's also very important for us to understand something else when it comes to Sujood at-Tilaawah. The ulama have said Sujood at-Tilaawah is not salah. The majority of ulama class it as being salah. So if it is salah, then you need to cover your awrah, you need to have wudu, you need to face the qibla. You can't do it in the time after the waqt al-nahi, the time after Fajr and Asr. So this is now Fajr time here. If I was to recite this ayah, I'm not allowed to make sajda because they have said sajda is salat. And this is the view of the majority. Others from the ulama have said no, sajda is not salat. It's a part of the salah, but it's not salat. Therefore, you don't need to necessarily face the qibla. If a woman is reciting the Quran, she doesn't need to cover her hair now. You don't necessarily need wudu. And for me, that seems to be a stronger view because it is not salat. Also connected to this is also very important for us to understand that all acts of worship, I was going to say salah, but all acts of worship are tawqifi, which basically means you need to have evidence to do the acts of worship. Sometimes people make qiyas with this sujood at-Tilaawah and the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the dua of those people who are in sujood. So what they do is they make sajda when they are making dua. So even outside of the salah, they just make sajda and they'll start making dua within that sajda. There is no evidence for this. I've said that this is an innovation. Sujood at-Tilaawah, sujood al-shukr, and all these different acts of worship that are established in the Kitab and the Sunnah, that becomes now for us to follow because ibadah is tawqifi, meaning it has to be legislated from the Kitab and the Sunnah. I think these are from the Masail of the Sujood at-Tilaawah that come to mind. If there is anything missing, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his pardon. But as you can see here, there are a lot of Masail, and I'm pretty sure there are other things that need to be said. This is just a rough gist of what a person should do when they recite these ayat and some of the ahkam surrounding it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us of the people of Quran and He makes us of the people of Sajda, and that He elevates our status in the dunya and the akhirah. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على